Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Knuckles the Echidna here, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Knuckles Chaotix for the Sega 32X add-on. So last time we have managed to able to be completely done with quite a few levels here, such as of course, I would say by the forms of well, pretty much wrap things up with Platonic Base, and we pretty much almost done with Marina Madness, but also we managed to revisiting back to, you know, Amazing Arena for quite a few times, and also we managed to able to actually finally experience both levels, which there are obviously Speed Slider, and also same applies to, well, Techno Tower. And today for this episode, we're about to be hit on to the Marina Madness zone for the final time, and because of that, we're also able to eventually go through the next boss in the whole game. So, but even then, we don't know exactly what it's going to be like, but even then, we'll see what happens here. And as you can see, we're now going to be reselecting Vector the Crocodile, along with the partner companion, which we have Knuckles the Echidna. So, even then, technically, it's likely the you know, when he forms living in the Act 5 of Platonic Base, that basically is more likely the opposite version of that, because this time around, obviously, we'll be playing as Vector the Crocodile, and the computer players department is going to be, well, Knuckles the Echidna, basically. So even then, though, because either way, I just feel like completely much, you know, trying to make it a little bit more opposite in between several parts worth noting for, but then again though, that's usually relatively speaking is the fact that there's also a couple of reasons why that my commentary itself is a little bit too drippy for the most part, especially noticeable how the fact that, well, obviously we're getting towards the end of 2020 obviously, so because of that, today's day is of course the 29th of December today, in this case in 2020. So naturally speaking, we've already got about 3 more days to go until, well, 2020 year is about to be over and done with. And then beyond that, we can hit on to the next new year, which appears to be 2021. Now I'm really hoping that, what the heck? Anyway, yeah, I'm really hoping that particularly for next year will be a lot more better than, you know, 2020 as a result, just because it did have some, highly expectations, originally, but of course everything else has been screwed up by the forms in the last few days, specifically because of the coronavirus pandemic and stuff like that, which even then, I found this, like, super sad, honestly, because even then though, my expectations with 2020 to begin with was staggeringly high, especially noticeable for able to be can't wait until we watched the entire Tokyo 2020 Olympics that year, but sadly though, that's not the case just because of, you know, the stupid coronavirus pandemic, because, you know, everything else about that particular pandemic sucks and terrible, and yeah, it's just all in all pretty terrible year so far, but then again, I'll get into more specific details onto that whenever we get on to the true final day of 2020, that's for circumstances. By the way, something's worth mentioning, I really love these animations right there, because it always kind of reminds me of some sort of like a cinematic vibes or something, at least something is usually up ahead. And look at that, with the power of the graphics of the 32-bit, this means just the fact that we get able to come across into the 32 kind of polygon right here, while Dr. Eggman is actually hiding in here. And after when you dodge that, however though, now the real battle begins, which, think of like, the Metropolis Zone boss from Sonic the Hedgehog 2, except a notable difference is the fact that he no longer got himself these little dummy egg dolls. Instead, it's been replaced by those little, polygonal, kind of like, triangular kind of hazards you need to avoid. So, but either way though, I honestly find this boss to be pretty much a cakewalk, honestly, because either way, especially noticeable if you ever to try to able to pick, you know, some of the characters in between, but either way though, it's hard to explain about this sometimes, but either way though, that's all I can say about it here. So, And yeah, as you can tell, that since we have managed to defeat the next boss, and as you can tell, the Marina Madness zone is fully completed. So it's only about 3 zones left, which we have Speed Slider and Amazing Arena and Techno Tower. So in this case, the next level we're going to be heading to is of course Speed Slider. And I don't know how many levels that we've got left, and I'm pretty sure this is Act 3 in Speed Slider, so yeah, I can usually expect for this point, so, oh, screw you. You make me lose my partner, which is of course Knuckles, but eventually he'll able to actually come back for about a few seconds later. Or to be more specifically, if you really want to get even more rings, as you can see right there, then, sure enough, he'll able to actually come back, like always. So even then, though, we can at least expect that, so... But yeah, there's gonna be a lot of times, though, is the fact that sometimes my, you know, partner companion doesn't seem to able to run up at the same as I do. But, either way, though, it's just that sometimes it rarely happens in my case, whenever when computer player, companions didn't do that often compared to me though, but either way though, it doesn't bother me like this at all, but it's just the fact that keep in mind is the fact that if you ever play this game with the computer player, then sometimes you might able to actually come across into several trouble moments, specifically if you really go up to that particular slanted hills, or even in this case, some loops for that matter, but again, there's not much else to, you know, talk about this, so... I should probably point things out for this point too, is the fact that since after all, about the fact that unlike in Sonic the Hedgehog 1, and especially noticeable with Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and even Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, even though despite the fact that I still think Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles is easily one of my favorite Sonic games of all time, next to Sonic Mania, specifically Sonic Mania Plus, and because of that though, that's usually the entire length for these two games are slightly longer. Whilst in this game in particular, oh yeah, and also Sonic CD, that we did manage to able to actually completely done with those games within like 3 parts in between. However though, this game might be slightly longer, well nowhere near as like longer compared to the forms of how it does it in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, even though with the amount of levels they have, it's like super ridiculously high, even because of how the fact that I said this before, they're about 5 acts per zone, so even then though, that's all I could usually just, you know, try to able to think about it. And as you can see, I'll just keep on wandering around like a moron right here, if only because of how the fact that sometimes Speed Slider can be a little bit of a maze-like kind of almost, well, nowhere near as like maze kind of feel to it, unlike Amazing Arena, because in Amazing Arena, as you know, that you know, that particular zone sucks, as you know. Alright, so for the time being, I think we should probably keep Vector and Knuckles as much as possible as far as we could. And let's see what's the next level we're going to be entering next. And looks like we're going back to Speed Slider again. Except now we need to deal with the 4th act. So, haven't heard that much info in terms of where, when did Cap King 74 will eventually come back to the actual YouTube industry, although I think it's pretty obvious because of how the fact that since how this year has gone so terrible overall in comparison to how solid last year was, even though despite that, you know, in 2019, that as far as what Sonic has already mentioned, since journey forms within the Sonic Pocket Adventure Let's Play, in this case the final Let's Play of 2019, and because of that though, that he did mention about the fact that he doesn't seem to really enjoy most of the films, well, some films that we still enjoy, like for instance, you know, Toy Story 4, and also same applies to Avengers Endgame, and especially noticeable with the Lego Movie 2, the second part, even though that it wasn't nearly as, like, perfect compared to the first film, I will admit that. But, apart from everything else though, apart from any other films like the live-action Disney movies, oh man, we just had the dreadful time last year, just because, well, Dumbo is pretty lackluster in the live-action version. We do ultimately prefer, you know, the original counterpart, And especially noticeable, we had some sort of a decent time in Aladdin live-action movie, but I was still able to prefer rewatch the original film again. And even The Lion King does manage to disappoint me in the live-action counterpart because they did ruin the actual charm that usually how the animated version usually has, because, well, in the animated version it's always the, well, the most important film of all time. According to any other people out there, they think that the original film was better, because, you know, everything else about the live-action movie, however, though, is just that, well, it's just like, you know, they just completely screwed up everything, like, no facial expressions on any other characters anymore, and also same applies to that, well, the voices has gone a little bit more dumped down compared to the forms of the original counterparts, which, you know, it's kind of a shame, really. So anyways, we're now moving on to back to Speed Slider for the third time for this part, and it's also going to be the final time we're going to be experiencing this particular stage, because as you know, we now ended up in Act 5, meaning about the fact that we come across into another boss fight. If you're probably wondering why I'm going to be able to actually show you guys the another boss in the future, specifically in Techno Tower or Amazing Arena, I really don't know, but we'll see what happens after we able to be fully completed, you know, Speed Slider Zone. So, but either way though, I'm really gonna miss this particular stage, because this is actually a pretty cool level, even though despite the forms of the ring tether mechanic that you have to force to deal with. I kinda wish if that would be make its appearance in Journey forms of in. I would say when it gets to the point, whenever when God knows if the Sonic's 30th anniversary game will be announcing until next year, and hopefully we'll be able to actually see this stage, even though it might not be, because most people seem to don't remember this game as much in comparison to the actual you know, the classic Sonic games we all know and love, since new forms of the Mega Drive days. But you know, you get the idea. If you're probably wondering, I have no idea what the hell was up with that particular pink UFO enemy. I'm not exactly sure what their names are, honestly, just because of how the fact that I'm usually just trying to focusing on the actual main levels themselves, as you can probably tell for that point. So, but either way though, that's just all I can usually think about it. After we're done with Vector though, however though, we can able to actually switch over to a different character, and also same applies to, well, trying to fully complete it, the actual Speed Slider. And Bomb, can you just get in there? Even though sometimes the actual partner companion can be very temperamental sometimes. Even though, because of the fact that this game certainly does recommend you to be able to play, you know, 2-player co-op for that for sake of time, but whatever. Alright, so here we go, on to the actual main Speed Slider Zone boss. And I believe we ended up in the forms of that particular carousel or something, and because the actual main emphasis on this fight is the fact that we need to keep on attacking this particular blue thingy right here that constantly rotates, and while you're at it, you need to avoid a lot of those little carousel looking spikes, and eventually you would be able to actually just destroy the actual carousel thing in no time. I will say this though, is the fact that this music kind of reminds me like I was actually interacting with the fun fair within a funhouse as a matter of fact, but hey, at least that particular tune does manage to make it a little bit more cooler and fancy looking, which I must be honest here, I actually really enjoyed that particular boss theme. Oh yeah, something's worth mentioning too is the fact that depending on what zones you're going to be entering into, some of these zones does manage to able to retain different boss themes or what have you, which is pretty unique in some regard, because even then though, even though it's almost kind of reminds me of, well, let's just say in the Kingdom Hearts games, where basically every time you, depending on what world you're going to be exploring onto, they give themselves the different battle themes every time when you deal with a lot of Heartless, Unversed, and Nobodies in general from that point too. So, but even then though, that's a pretty cool ideal thing for able to actually make everything else a little bit different for some regards. So yeah, seems pretty cool. And obviously, if you couldn't tell because of how we found that, as far as what some toys already mentioned about this before, we really do apologize with the lack of uploads of Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. And, you know, as far as what some toys said out there for about a few moments ago that sadly that Kingdom Hearts Final Mix or even the Kingdom Hearts Marathon will not be continuing by this point, because even though it's kind of sad to tell you, just because of how the fact that sometimes doing a lot of processing with a lot of editing stuff can get pretty much tiring some. Although it might be seems key to, you know, trying to make everything else a little bit more, it's hard to explain about it sometimes, because even then though, as far as I'm aware as well, that the amount of views that we've got for the entire Let's Play of Kingdom Hearts Final Mix is actually pretty low in comparison to, like, let's just say for example, that we did manage to done a Let's Play of Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games series, even though in this case we actually done 3 of these things during the forms of this year, which is pretty insane if you ask me, because unlike in well, in the original Olympic Games, in this case in Beijing 2008, that, well, we did manage to done that particular region Let's Play back in 2016 for celebrating the Rio 2016 Olympic Games release. And during the exact same year, we did manage to done the Let's Play of Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. And in 2019, we have managed to accomplish our Let's Play of Mario and Sonic at the Sochi 2014 Olympic Winter Games just before Christmas time. And recently, for this year, is the fact that we actually did not 1, not 2, but 3 Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games series in journey forms of 2020, which there are Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games in Vancouver 2010, and also Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games, and also recently we've done the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, even though despite the forms of the actual Olympic Games has been still delayed, as you guys should already know. So, but either way though, well, gonna have to hold it up for that some form or another, so... But then again, there's not much else I can talk about, so... Oh yeah, at certain points, whenever when you are continuously exploring through Amazing Arena, as you can see right there, sometimes you're able to actually come across into some sort of like a mid-boss stage, or in this case a mid-boss. In this case, for example, we're going to be taking on the forms of that particular Eggman, particular hologram or something like that, or the actual, projector or something like that. It's hard to pronounce that sometimes, but basically, if you somehow manage to able to finish him off, then you would able to actually get yourselves a whole bunch of goodies. Even though, unfortunately for me though, is the fact that I don't seem to able to actually finish him off, because again, sometimes my keyboard controls can sometimes feel a little bit temperamental, unlike the Mega Drive controller, which even then though, I would have appreciated if I was going to get the original cartridge for it, but again, it's super expensive, as you know. Most notably because of, you know, 32X's sellers, the selling point is a massive flop. So, you know. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next level. We're really hoping we can able to get into Techno Tower. But unfortunately though, according to the actual level selection screen, as you can see right there, we are about to be going back into Amazing Arena, even though we're able to actually do this twice, by the way, or 3 times as a matter of fact, because we've already done Act 3, but now we ended up in Act 4. Hopefully we'll get this world done, or we'll get the zone done before we move on to, you know, Techno Tower, the final zone before we get onto the final frontier. So, but even then though, things won't be that long, I'm hoping anyway though, but then again though, you have to do with the special condition for able to complete in certain levels in, you know, Amazing Arena, as you know. So, you know. Alright, so let's go ahead and just keep on just messing things up with the spin dash and what have you, even though sometimes my partner companion doesn't do well enough for me, but, you know, sometimes it can be pretty much a pain. Also, I don't know if suppose I've actually just wanted to mention about this, but I'm not exactly sure if this game will able to have a time-up system, just like in the forms of how it does it in the forms of the previous Sonic games, that's for sure. If you manage to able to wait for about 10 minutes, then you'll lose a life, and stuff like that. Which I remember as a kid, that whenever I managed to play Sonic the Hedgehog 3 for the first time, and whenever I get into Carnival Night Zone, you know, with that particular the Barrel of Doom or something like that, then you have to able to press up and down in order to progress. that for the longest time actually, I've managed to get stuck onto, specifically in Act 2 specifically. And because of that though, I just could not even believe I just got stuck in that zone for the longest time, but it wasn't until when I'm grown older that the more I played it, then the more better I become. So believe in that, no, that's enough about that. Oh, by the way, if you managed able to actually just realize something, is the fact that the music will change every time whenever you activate the actual light switch on, or even in this case, when it goes like dip and dark, the actual music will slightly alter. So even then, well, I don't know how do I explain this specifically though, but I digress. So yeah, my first experience, I forgot to mention about something actually, is the fact that obviously I did not actually fully experience the actual entire game of Knuckles Chaotix at all, because of course the 32X has been so bad in terms of selling points department, and as a result of that specific stuff, the only first time I've actually come across into Knuckles Chaotix, it was actually by the forms of the museum mode in Sonic Gems Collection, which every time you're able to unlock certain illustrations or anything like that, depending on what how much time you're able to play, depending on what games you play, such as of course Sonic the Fighters, and also same applies to what I'm trying to say here, Sonic CD, Sonic R, as well as the Game Gear titles, which there are Sonic 2, and also Sonic Spinball, in this case the worst version of Sonic Spinball ever made, and also Sonic Triple Trouble, aka, what the hell, Knuckles? You just somehow just do a moonwalk dance, or something like that, like Michael Jackson or something. I have no idea where I got that from, but anyway. Yeah, and it's also, well, obviously Sonic Triple Trouble, aka Sonic and Tails 2, for those who lived in Japan, and also Sonic Drift Racing in the UK version, and then in North American and the Japanese release, just managed to call it, Sonic Drift 2. Even though despite the fact that North American just managed to only get the physical release of Sonic Drift 2, not Sonic Drift 1. And also Tails Sky Patrol and Tails Adventure, and you probably get the rest. And what I've actually noticed something from the start though, whenever I looked upon the illustrations of this game, due to the forms of Sonic Gems Collection's museum mode, that I might be unfamiliar with it at first, but it wasn't until whenever I discovered this, and during the forms of some videos on YouTube, that I actually do realize is the fact that it almost plays out like the actual Sonic the Hedgehog game that I always know and love, even though except the fact that, well, we have to deal with the actual ring tether. So, you get the idea for that solution right here, so. And unfortunately, I accidentally smashed and went into the transparent special stage right here. And of course, I've already shown you guys that what happens if you do manage to fall off the special stage. Well, obviously you get kicked out, obviously. But as I said before, that if you somehow got no rings onto your time limit, then yeah, as you can see, it says timeout and it says too bad. So there are two different ways for able to mess things up in the special stages in this game, but honestly, the special stages are very unique in my opinion, because, well, they actually did done something a little bit different in that regard, especially noticeable how the fact that, well, you still be collecting blue spheres, as you know, since Sonic the Hedgehog 3 and Knuckles, specifically blue spheres, if you will. So, but either way, let's go ahead and now switch over to Vector as my partner companion. And I think we actually got enough time to able to do the last two levels for the sake of the forms of this video's case. And oh boy, we're going back to Amazing Arena for, thankfully, the final time. And also that this is the third time experiencing this zone for the sake of this video. Hopefully until tomorrow anyway, when it gets really close towards the end of 2020, then sure enough we can able to tackle through the rest of Techno Tower, and eventually we're able to actually end off the game from there. So, fair enough. And thankfully this will be the final time we get have to deal with the special condition of trying to complete the level as you know it. Like, trying to able to find the light switch somewhere, so because of that though, again, it's a bit of a labyrinthy kind of level, as I said before, and hopefully I'm not going to touch that level ever again, because let me tell you, it is so confusing sometimes, even especially noticeable if you really desperately want to find you know, that particular light switch that's super important for the sake of the level, then you have to go for this stuff, basically. So even then, though, if you thought that, before we get on to Sonic Advance 3, during at some point next year, oh boy, if we're about to be finding something like a Chow or anything like that, well, oh boy, it will be a lot of multitasking, I'm telling you that right now. But then again, we'll point that out whenever we get on to Sonic Advance 3, until at some point next year, so believe me on that. So as far as other things worth mentioning too, is the fact that in terms of other Let's Plays too, that about the fact the matter is though, there was Klonoa 2 Lunar Tease Veil, which we could able to do that next year, because of how the fact that, well, recently we've only just done the Japanese-only Klonoa game on the Bandai WonderSwan, but thankfully we did manage to at least done that Let's Play thanks to the emulator. So yeah, that's pretty cool stuff, especially noticeable how the fact that it just always becomes super handy though, because I'm presuming that if you ever try to buy Klonoa Moonlight Museum on the actual Bandai WonderSwan, it actually costs way expensive as well. Like, I have no idea that certain games cost a lot of money. If you thought that Nintendo Switch games cost a lot more expensive, even especially noticeable with the PlayStation 5 games every now and then, well, be prepared by the forms of trying to able to get yourselves into specifically other stuff worth noting for, because either way, it's just way too much sometimes. But anyways, let's go ahead and toss Vector up here, and we'll just keep on doing a lot of wall jumps here, and obtain Charmy B right here. And again, using that particular giant item power-up, it is so useful. Especially you can jump high, and also to top it all off is the fact that, well, it just makes everything a lot easier if you manage to become in giant form. Even though, unfortunately though, we come across into this particular familiar mini mid-boss again, except despite the fact that I'm still stuck at this particular fight. Although I will admit though right away, you do have a time limit by the way, so because of that though, if you get time up, then you're not gonna get any rewards if you don't kill him fast enough. But if you do manage to kill him just in time, then you get yourself some goodies. But luckily though, it doesn't instantly kill me or anything like that, which is good, because unlike in the well, certain other games I know, specifically, I don't know which game I was going to be thinking of right now. Oh yeah, specifically Sonic Adventure 2, in terms of like, some time-based missions, specifically, and also same applies to Security Hall as well. Basically you do have to deal with the time limits before you're able to, well, you need to grab the Chaos Emeralds before you're able to actually let the time run out. So, but even then, as far as I'm aware, it's just about 5 minutes in order to able to complete the level, so... At least for the normal mission anyway, though, but eventually it gets way harder when you get into 4th missions and stuff like that. But, you know, that's as far as I can usually try to describe about this fact. But anyways, let's move on to the next boss here, which, what I've noticed is the fact that there's actually a, well, a projector screen on, and it actually reflects Dr. Eggman right here. Now this boss fight is, well, I have to be honest here, this is by far one of the hardest fights in the game in my opinion. Because, for instance, for example, it kind of reminds me of a boss from Sonic the Hedgehog 2 in Metropolis Zone boss fight. Well, I usually try to say that, although it might be a little bit similar to, Marina Madness, that's what I was trying to say here. And because of that though, except the fact that rather than dealing with those particular triangular projectiles that you have to avoid, instead now we need to avoid his arms, because if you somehow touch his arms, then you're gonna get hurt. And also he constantly spamming a lot of enemies due to that particular projector screen. And as a result, that it just becomes a little bit chaotic, I have to admit though, for the sake of that particular level, or that particular boss even. But either way though, regardless of such though, we have done the amazing arena, thank goodness for that. But it's just a matter of time to do the final zone before we get on to the final thing to do. And that is of course, let's get into the rest of Techno Tower. And hopefully, things should be self-explanatory for the most of the majority of at the end, for the sake of this particular game itself. But then again, I'll give my final thoughts of this game whenever we get on to the final point of this particular game itself. Even though, again, this is all new to me and everything like that. But I did technically already play this before for the first time when I played the emulator online website. And oh god, the frame rate is like chucking a lot. Like, it really chucks a lot. And speaking of such, let's go ahead and just, oh, where's the exit? Oh, there's the exit. Thankfully, this will be the last time we're going to be seeing those particular bonusy areas like these because, well, again, as I said before, they're pointless to begin with, and plus there's nothing rewarding at all. So, but either way though, there's not much else to it. But then again, there's not much else to talk about, so even then now, oh god, there it is. This is what I was talking about right here. It's a stupid small power-up. I mean, it is such an hassle just trying to able to actually just to figure out how you're able to actually get up there somehow. But either way though, it just feels kind of a nuisance whenever every time you're able to pick up the small item box, which even then though, believe me, it's so irritating, I have to say. So anyways, seriously? Okay, so there isn't a goal here, but if we go to the left, that's where the goal is. But unfortunately, I accidentally laid my partner Vector to go into the special stage again. Even though this will be the last time we're going to be seeing this special stage here, even though despite the fact that we actually go into the exact same wired framed, or in this case transparent special stage as you can see right here. But I suppose I'm also able to quickly leave this, so with that being said, join me next time we'll Let's Play Knuckles Chaotix. Is the fact that we'll able to hopefully wrap things up everything in terms of Techno Tower, and eventually we'll able to end off the game. So even then, no self-explanatory basically. So I'll see you guys until tomorrow. Later fellas.